Zoological Park Association, they estimate 72 million birds are exposed annually to pesticides, and about 67 million of them died. And they think this is a very conservative estimation of what's going on with the bees now. What I found was really interesting. Now I went to, again, this website. They have a summary pesticide use report, and the most recent one I could find is 2008. Now in this report, they put out the numbers by categories. I put it in a chart. So the great majority of it is used in agriculture. And then after harvest, you put more crap on it, and you just keep putting stuff on it. What's interesting is, like others, is a whole big piece. That is a lot of domestic use, household use. And landscaping. So the total in California is 161.5 million pounds. Again, this is active ingredients only. It's not like the whole thing, just active ingredients. And landscaping use 1.5 million pounds active ingredients in pesticides. And again, if we were to haul that 161.5 million pounds just active ingredients, it would take 2019 of these the semis. They each can carry 80,000 pounds, and it would take over 2,000 of them to haul that amount of active ingredients. And on this page, you're only looking at 40 of them, so you have to multiply this page by 50 times to really visualize the amount of pesticides that's being used in California alone. And then it was also very interesting to me. In the report, they put them also in categories of what kind of toxins they are. So if we know they're toxins, why are we using them? So they're saying, so they list, the number of pounds, again, only active ingredients of pesticides that they're known to have reproductive toxicity. And here is this amount that's known to be carcinogens, and known to be groundwater pollutants, known to pollute. This is neurotoxins. So when Rachel Carson made a big sting about pesticides, so they moved from one kind to try to move to another kind, and this new kind, what they do is actually your brains, like how you fire off synapses, right? You have chemicals in your brain that stimulates to do it, and have chemicals to stop it from doing it. So you regulate how your brain is, the activity of your brain. So this group of chemicals stops your body from generating the chemicals that stops the firing. So you just fire like crazy. And then we have toxic air contaminants, and these are oil pesticides and other petroleum products. And many of them are also known to have reproductive toxicity and also known to be carcinogens. So these numbers are not inclusive, right? So just to show you that I didn't make this up, so this is actually cut and paste of the report. So this is actually the use of State Proposition 65 list of chemicals that are known to cause reproductive toxicity. So what Proposition 65 is that it requires the state to update annually the list of chemicals that cause harm, that either reproductively toxic or carcinogens. So reproductive toxin. So we've seen that. Like this is from the National Institute of Health, and publications that shows that reproductive health, in fact, is declining. And in this abstract, I cut and paste a piece to show you that this is, again, a worldwide situation, not just in the US, and also it seems to be, in part at least, associated with environmental chemicals during fetal and childhood development. So the younger you are, that you're exposed to it, the more serious the effects are. And again, this is the second group. They're carcinogens. Again, I just want to let you know, I didn't make this up. You can go on this website, find all this information yourself. So what about cancer? Well, if you look at, remember that chart about usage increase? If you put it next to this chart, You think that might say something? I don't know. This is from the American Cancer Society. So here is a more updated trend, 2009, 2010. You can see that the trend of overall cancer, total cancer. And what is alarming is actually childhood cancer is on the rise.
They're searching for the cure.
If you're looking at total cancer, it may not tell you as much if you look at what kind of cancer. What do you see? In other words, reproductive system, right? Very alarming, right? And so, again, you can see that prostate and breast cancer are on the top, right, for 2009. Double whammy. So this report, which is posted in April, is again National Institute of Health, which is this Cancer Institute is part of the National Institute of Health, and they wrote a report to the president. And I took some pieces from the letter, the cover letter for the summary report. So 1.5 million diagnosed with cancer, and more than 500,000 died. And it stated very clearly with growing body of evidence linking environmental exposure to cancer. So, and it went on to say to project in the future, 41% will be diagnosed and 21% will die from cancer. Now that's statistically speaking, right? So in this room we have 5, 10, 15, about 22 people, right? So 40%, how many people would statistically in this room be diagnosed with cancer? 9 or 10, right? Nine people, right? Out of this room. And how many will die statistically?
4 or 5.
And we're going to roll the dice and see that side of the room. And also continue in the report to say industrial and manufacturing contaminants are common in consumer products. So again, I'm showing you, I'm cutting and pasting, so it's not, I didn't make this up. So 80,000 chemicals in the market, and so exposure is widespread. To quote Rachel Carson, "The man is a part of nature, and his war against nature is inevitably a war against himself." I mean, do you have to be like really smart to figure that one out? I mean, is that like so, wow, whoa, really? And in that same report, they actually have a whole chapter on related exposures related to modern lifestyle. Like, whoa. Again, this information is out there. I just got this online. I mean, it's a huge report, but it's available as a PDF online. Anybody can find this. So we looked at industrial agriculture, look at beekeeping. And what was I found? I went to this website, Department of Environmental Conservation. Some of you heard my story with my experience with FDA. There are lists of chemicals. It's nowhere that would tell you how many. And you call them, they still don't know how many. So you basically have, like the guy told me from the FDA, well, why don't you just count? So I decided to count. I was up till so late. And it was easier this time because they actually put them on the standard form. So each form has so many chemicals, so I can just count how many pages and multiply and get it out, and there were hundreds of pages. But I would stay there and count the pages and figure out there are like 13,500 products that have pesticides in them. And most of these are household products. We're using them. And nobody's forcing you to buy it. You're buying it. You're paying good money for this.
Like dishwasher liquids, things like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, tomorrow night, I'm going to go into the details of the products. So we talked about almonds. Monoculture is a problem. But monoculture is not just in industry. This is also monoculture. This is not supporting the bees either. When bees come to this environment, they don't have a whole lot to eat either, right? So it is not just the bad guys out there, it's actually all of us participating in this great game of who gets cancer? Okay, no. So speaking of landscaping, remember we'll go back again, active ingredients, more than 1.5 million pounds of active ingredients. And just for fun, I figure how much does an African elephant weigh? They weigh up to 15 pounds, 1,500 pounds, so that would be the biggest one there is, and it would be more than 100 African elephants equals weight, and that's how. Now, some of you say, well, you know what? So a lot of people ask me, so what can you do? Like, Ling, tell me 3 things you can do. You're so annoying. You never tell me what you can do. Well, you know, one thing I'm proud of a lot of people who have decided to be a vegan. Try to, some vegans, not everybody, some vegans become vegans because they say, well, I'm not going to consume anything, support anything that abuse animals, right? Well, after this research I did this weekend, most of your food will be gone. If you really stick by the fact that you're a vegan, you don't eat anything that abuse animals, you will not eat anything pollinated by bees at this current environment.
Well, that's the assumption that bees do that, free. They're not enslaved. That's what one thinks. They just fly there and they are there. But I didn't know that it was such heavy industrial bee farming, beekeeping.
They go from crop to crop. It's not just the almonds. They go to the oranges. Exactly. It's all over the country.
So there is no natural bee pollination. It's just a tiny amount, I guess.
Unless you buy it from a tiny little farm somewhere, that's disappearing also.
Yeah. What about the organic farmers? What do they use?
Organic simply means they don't use pesticides.
That's right.
That's really all that means.
But they use the bee slaves?
Any large scale would have to do it this way. And if you're raw vegan, then you're really, really in trouble. You have nothing to eat. So I have done this recently. I eat a lot of raw food. I eat raw vegan, and this weekend it just destroyed me. I have no food left. Now, every time I learn something and I try to boycott a food, I don't eat corn, I don't eat this for whatever reasons. Now I have no food left. I can't eat anymore at all. Now what? It's what everybody says to me, Ling, what are you telling us? Should we just just die? What are we gonna do? Well, I wish there is a handbook. I wish there is, but there isn't. And what is really interesting, it's not so much that what can you do. I think the more important question is to ask is why we don't do what we know we should do. And so if you go back to the cancer statistics, even though reproductive cancer is way up there, but what kills is actually lung cancer. Right? The biggest killer is lung cancer. And that's pretty easy, right? You do what? You stop smoking. Well, except for a drop way back then, people are not stopping smoking. And we all know that now. Diet and exercise is what makes you healthy, yeah? And actually helps you, prevent cancer, lower your probability for having cancer. Look what we're doing about that.
Wow,
Nothing. We're not changing our diets at all. What about exercise?
Worse.
Not doing that either. So to me, the deeper question really is, it's not so much what we can do, it's why we don't do what we know we should do. I have no answer to that. So I think I'm hoping, especially with the entire series, that one of you will hear all the way through. I'm hoping to have demonstrated. We looked at food, water, and air, right? We're looking to see how everything is being produced. Basically, we can't continue to live the way we do. We cannot continue to do things the way we do, Right? There's no question about that. What we really need is a profound paradigm shift.